The familiar forest in Colorado had become a regular escape for me, a haven located just a couple of hours away from my home. I found solace in the embrace of nature, often venturing into its depths every few months, particularly when the weather was inviting. On this particular occasion, I had set up camp and had already spent 2 full days immersing myself in the simplicity of the wilderness. The initial days were dedicated to establishing the campsite and engaging in peaceful fishing expeditions. As the 3rd day unfolded, I decided to embark on a hike north of my campsite. This wasn't a trek along well-worn trails. Instead, I navigated the mountainside, relying on my knowledge of landmarks and equipped with everything necessary to ensure I wouldn't lose my way. The midday sun warmed my path, and I relished the stroll. However, my tranquility was shattered when I noticed a column of smoke billowing from behind me, seemingly originating from near my campsite. Alarmed, I circled back, hoping for a clearer view. The unsettling sight persisted, hinting at something burning either at my camp or nearby. Anxiety fueled my hastened return, but upon reaching a quarter mile from the source of the smoke, it became evident that the disturbance was not directly linked to my camp. Puzzled, I confirmed that everything at my site was intact, but the mysterious smoke emanated from somewhere concealed within the trees. Contemplating whether to investigate, I hesitated. The probable cause was someone else's campfire, a perplexing occurrence considering the absence of trails leading to this specific spot. Wary of encountering unfamiliar individuals, I opted to remain at my campsite, dismissing the incident as an oddity, and continued with my day, engaging in various camp activities. Approximately an hour later, a casual survey of my surroundings gripped me with an unexpected sense of unease. My body tensed as I spotted a man standing silently in the forest. The suddenness of his presence and the way he gazed in my direction unsettled me. Unsure of how long he had been there, I nervously waved, but the man remained motionless. Although too far away to discern if he was watching me, he maintained his fixed gaze on the campsite for almost 15 minutes before vanishing into the woods. The eerie encounter left me unnerved. The man's behavior was inexplicable, and a lingering sense of discomfort enveloped me. Determined to ease my concerns, I waited for a few hours, vigilant of my surroundings. Eventually, curiosity overcame caution, and I ventured to the spot where the man had stood. To my bewilderment, there was nothing unusual, just another section of the forest. Returning to my campsite as the sun began to set, I attempted to dismiss the disquieting thoughts that plagued me. However, as darkness fell, an unanticipated flickering light caught my attention. Another campfire illuminated the forest, situated not in the direction of the earlier smoke but close to where the mysterious man had stood. Strangely, the fire seemed deserted, lacking any signs of human presence. A sense of foreboding gripped me as I scrutinized the dark expanse. My gaze darted across the surroundings, and behind a bush, mere feet away, I made eye contact with a face peering back at me. Panic surged through me, but the figure remained motionless, perhaps unaware that I had spotted them. I retreated behind my campfire, eyes fixed on the intruder. The ensuing 30 minutes felt like an eternity as the figure slowly receded into the shadows, disappearing into the depths of the forest. Wide-eyed and alert, I kept watch throughout the night, the rustling leaves and nocturnal sounds amplifying my paranoia. When the first light of dawn began to penetrate the forest, I wasted no time packing up my belongings. The woods that had once been a sanctuary now harbored an ominous presence, and an instinctive fear warned me against lingering. With swift determination, I walked briskly back to my car, leaving behind the enigma that had cast a shadow over my peaceful retreat. Whatever clandestine activities unfolded in those woods, I had no intention of becoming entangled in their potential harm. The story unfolds as a chapter from my life, a 26-year-old seeking solace and adventure. This tale takes place last year when I decided to embark on a solitary vacation, an escape to a serene cabin owned by a friend in a remote area. The alignment of circumstances saved me a considerable sum, a fact for which I felt profoundly grateful. Though I had never set foot in the cabin, I'd heard vivid descriptions from my friend, who painted it as the epitome of coziness and relaxation. Images shared with me hinted at a haven tucked away in nature, and the prospect of such tranquility fueled my anticipation for this much-needed retreat. The cabin stood as a beacon of serenity, a sanctuary yet to be explored, located approximately 40 minutes away from the nearest town. The remoteness felt substantial, amplified by the meandering journey along a dirt road that demanded a slow and deliberate pace. Upon my arrival, the allure of nature's embrace captivated me, prompting an hour spent simply standing outside, absorbing the scenic beauty and reveling in the quietude. A quick dinner and some time on my phone followed, setting the stage for an exploration of the surrounding trails as the daylight waned. Small trails, beckoning me with promises of discovery, sprawled near the cabin. To ensure their navigability, I sought assurance from my friend. Reassured, I embarked on the closest trail at the back of the cabin, a supposedly straightforward route leading through the woods. As I ventured down the uneven trail, the rhythm of my boots on the earth beneath became a tranquil symphony. The trail, though not the smoothest, did not pose any immediate threats of getting lost, assuaging my primary concern. I ambled for nearly half an hour, embracing the natural wonders around me and allowing my thoughts to drift into the calm of the wilderness. Then, an unexpected disruption echoed through the woods. A man's voice, loud and imbued with a harsh tone, pierced the ambient tranquility. The confusion triggered by this unexpected intrusion prompted me to halt, only for silence to descend upon the forest. Moments later, the voice resurfaced, emanating from somewhere to the right of the trail but obscured from my view. It seemed like the man was engaged in a heated exchange, possibly with someone else, though no responses were audible. This deviation from the norm raised a red flag, sparking a sense that something might be amiss. Uncertain of the presence of other cabins or houses in the vicinity, I deliberated my next move. The man's animated discourse, conducted in a language foreign to my ears, persisted, devoid of any discernible replies. Curiosity overcoming caution, I decided to approach quietly, careful not to lose sight of the trail. As I drew closer, the voices abruptly ceased, replaced by an uneasy stillness. A fleeting moment of unease prompted me to jog back to the safety of the trail. The disquieting aura lingered as I retraced my steps, hastening my return to the cabin as the sun began its descent. A mere couple of minutes down the trail, the crunching of leaves from the woods behind me jolted my senses. I whirled around, attempting to discern the source, but the shadows cast by the trees veiled any clear visibility. The sound, resembling someone running not too far away, heightened my apprehension. Without a second thought, I turned and sprinted the remaining distance to the cabin, securing myself within and fortifying the entrance. Peering out the back window, I immediately spotted a man approaching the cabin. Clad in a thick hoodie and brandishing an unidentified object, he embodied an ominous figure. In a desperate moment, I made a split-second decision to grab my keys and make a dash for my car, parked at the front of the cabin. I sped away, glancing behind to find no one in pursuit. Upon recounting the unnerving encounter with my friend, it became apparent that nobody should have been in that vicinity. The identity and motivations of the mysterious man in the woods remained shrouded in uncertainty. Yet, the unfolding events underscored the potential peril that lurked in the isolation of the wilderness. Had I chosen to remain within the cabin, the story might have taken a darker turn, consigning me to obscurity in the vast expanse of the unknown. My friend and I lived in a small town near Seattle. We loved camping and hiking, especially being out in nature. This story happened in the spring of 2021. We planned a regular camping trip nearby, but our work schedules made it a bit tricky to find the right days. My manager delayed my requested days off by a day, which messed up our plans. I talked to my friend Brandon, and he said it was okay. It was just a day off for me, and he was fine with hiking out and setting up camp alone, spending the first night by himself. He insisted he'd enjoy it, so I didn't try to stop him. Brandon messaged me when he arrived and set everything up. It all seemed good. The next morning, I drove out to join him. The campsite wasn't a common place, but it had a well-made trail and a cleared-out area for campers. It wasn't some random spot in the forest. I texted Brandon while on my way, but my phone lost service, and I didn't get a text back. My phone gained service a few times during the walk, but I still hadn't received a text. I thought maybe Brandon had service issues or there was something wrong with my phone. There could be a million reasons, so I wasn't too surprised. Once I got to the camp, something was off. Brandon was missing. I checked the tent and nearby areas, but he wasn't there. I wasn't too worried initially. He could be fishing by the river or exploring some trails with nice views. He really could have been anywhere. I put my bag down, set up my tent, and got a fire going to heat some canned food. It was only noon, so if he'd gone to the river or down a trail, he probably wouldn't be back until 3 or 4 hours. But once 5 rolled around, I started to get nervous. I tried to see if I could find any shoe prints to figure out which way he might have gone. Honestly, I had no idea. There were tons of shoe prints all over the area with no clear direction. My phone still had no service, so there weren't many options for me to go out and find him. My only logical choice was to stay put and hope he'd come back, hiking out when the sun only had another 30 minutes of light left. Going out in the dark would have been a disaster. I put more wood into the fire and sat down, hoping for the best but uncontrollably fearing the worst. That's when I saw a light flash by a few trees ahead of me. It moved around like someone was walking with it. Near one of the trails, I felt relief thinking it had to be Brandon. The light came closer, getting brighter, and close enough for me to hear footsteps in the distance. But suddenly, right before I thought I'd see who it was, it shut off and the footsteps stopped. I called out to Brandon, but there was no response. The silence made my stomach tighten. I called again, but still nothing. It remained silent, deepening the disturbing gut feeling I had. To make things worse, I stared into the darkness, waiting and listening. After over an hour of complete silence, aside from the sounds of the woods, I never heard the person leave, but I could feel that he was still out there, watching me. I got up and started packing my things quickly, watching my back. Something in me told me to get out of there and find help, so that's what I did. I don't think I was followed, as I made it out without any more incidents, but the police couldn't help me until the following day. We went back out there, finding everything as I'd last seen it, but Brandon was still gone. They tracked him going off one of the trails and deeper into the woods, showing another set of shoe prints right next to his. Unfortunately, Brandon never turned up, and the whole thing went cold after a couple of days. It's believed he was likely taken by the person who was out there with him, the same person I'd encountered. It's just terrible thinking about whether things would have ended up differently if I had been there on the first day, or if I too would have gone missing. The uncertainty is haunting.